and give you information on what's going on in your neck of the woods and how it affects you and what you can do about it. Well, folks, most people are focused on the national issue, what's going on with the Trump nominees. I believe there's Pat Bondi is one, as well as, who's the other one? Pete Hegseth with yesterday. And there's a lot of drama in the Congress. Basically, Democrats are grandstanding so they can pat themselves on the back and request funding from Act Blue or whatever. And most Republicans are just asking standard, fair, regular questions on if they're going to actually do their job. Most of these nominees should probably go through. I know there was some problems before, but after the American people want this. And keep in mind that years ago, nobody even cared about nominees. They would just nominate, the person would be nominated, that'd be it. It is interesting that when Democrats are usually nominated, it's usually not a problem. As a matter of fact, it's almost unanimous. But for some reason, when Republicans are nominated for positions, there's all kinds of drama and there's a bunch of political things that go back and forth. There just seems to be a lot more angst when it regards to that issue. But fortunately, good news, we have, thanks to the hard work of a lot of people, we put Trump in office. We had a red wave across the nation, so a lot of Congress and Senate seats were changed on a state and local level. I heard that in Minnesota, the state legislature there is trying not to meet to deny them a quorum so they can get business done. They may have to do like what was done in Texas, where the state troopers had to grab Democrats that were hiding. I remember it was years ago when the Texas legislature was Republican. A bunch of the Democrats decided to not show up so as not to give them a quorum on votes. And I believe some either Texas Rangers or state troopers had to chase them down and make them show up. I'll have to look that story up later on. But anyway, the reason I want to focus on this drama right here is all politics is local. Your congressmen, your senators, they're focused on what's going on in the local level, and especially what's need to be done regarding legislation. We need to rein in these city and county governments, because a lot of these city and county governments are just ridiculously run by just outright leftist Democrats. Most people know what's happening in California regarding the wildfires. And Gavin Newsom certainly has a lot to blame for that, mainly regarding the policy of water. But the DE hires for the firefighters and the many failures within the city is by the mayor, who I believe went on a trip to Ghana when the fires broke out. And so while everybody's focused on city and the federal level, we need to focus on city and county governments, and we need to rein them in. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, in her State of the State address, promised to get rid of the grocery tax. But what a lot of people are worried is that when she gets rid of the grocery tax, these other municipalities are going to raise the taxes in another way on a local level. Now, we have reined in some of that. We've done a lot of good in terms of stopping some of that by doing what's known as requiring these special elections to be on regular election days. And that really helps in terms of stopping these local governments from sneaking these tax increases through. But there's still a lot of things that need to be done. And I wanted to focus on this. This is Jefferson County. This is Pine Bluff. It's a city 30 miles, about 50 miles south of Little Rock, about 30 minutes away. And it is run Jefferson County. Pine Bluff's the main city within Jefferson County, and it's run by Democrats. And there have been all kinds of drama regarding Jefferson County. And apparently they have failed to pass their budget. And so this was a part of a press conference where they addressed that. This press conference is an hour long. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll show a little bit of it. It is low in audio, So I'm going to try to. I've got the audio. I want to focus it on one particular gentleman.
Once again, a budget that has been rejected multiple times. That again, although it meets 90%, you've heard from different elected officials. You heard from them individually how it individually impacts their offices. Yesterday.
I want to get to this tall gentleman here.
Who couldn't be here. These are all countywide elected officials, and the constitutional law does not give the county judge the authority to control other elected officials' office. The budget is placed in the responsibility of the quorum court to appropriate an appropriate budget to govern the county and appropriate funding as needed by these particular individuals. It's not for the county judge.
I've also noticed you really ought to look at the comments on this. They need to address the corruption that's in the leadership in Pine Bluff. The county needs to fall under state oversight. And they may be correct. We know that a lot of school districts have had to be, like the Little Rock school districts have been taken over by the state. And I'm not saying the state government is perfect in any way, shape, or form, but this local government here in Pine Bluff in particular is just, I mean, they can't pass their budget. And this isn't just indicative of Pine Bluff. There's lots of cities in Arkansas that are struggling. Little Rock has tried to push for tax increases and has failed. As somebody's saying, the Arkansas Association of Counties could help. No, the Association of Counties is part of the problem. The Association of Counties is a bunch of crooks in Little Rock who decide to run things and push for things like higher taxes, more regulation. They are part of the problem. They're also against paper ballots. Here, I'll play some of this guy's comments.
Hey, I'm going to cut your budget, or for him to fabricate a budget and bring in two justices to sit in a meeting and pretend like they're making cuts to a budget that they don't know anything about. I'm going to give you a little history here. Judge Robinson over the past 6 years has done nothing but cut budgets to increase his own budget. And I'll give you an example. In 2019, when Judge Robinson came into office, his budget in the judge's office was $487,000. You know what his proposed budget is for 2025? $1,693,000. That's $1.7 million. If you look at larger counties, Benton County judge's office budget is $924,000. They're a large county. Washington County, Fayetteville.
Just because a county is larger doesn't mean you should emulate how they act. There's different scenarios and different reasons why a budget may be passed. But let me go on.
The judge's office budget is $522,000. But our county judge is proposing a $1.7 million budget for his office. The county judge proposed the budget to the quorum court, which was his budget, and it was voted down. When it was voted down, the quorum court, along with these elected officials, got together and assembled a budget. They all met. They went over the budget. There was no, hey, I need to buy 5 new cars, or whichever may be the case. The story that you heard is that they're asking for things that are required in their office, things that they need in their office. And they made a budget. And when these budgets were assembled, the county judge asked for between his budget and buildings and grounds an additional estimated $75,000. The quorum court didn't agree with it, but they gave it to him. You know why? Because if they were making, and at that time I was on the quorum court, if we were making all of the other elected officials whole, even though the county judge didn't need the increases that he was asking for, we went in and found the money to make sure that he was whole and that he got what he wanted, so he would have no complaint about these elected officials being made whole. The county judge asked for a $40,000 increase in buildings and grounds, and he had $51,000 left in his budget at the end of the year. He didn't even need the money. He just asked for it, just because he can. Cutting others' budget to add to his, but when the quorum court found the money to afford these elected officials to be able to have their full budget that they needed to operate, the problem was resolved, but it wasn't resolved with Gerald Robinson. It met the 90%, It was passed and he vetoed it. What you are witnessing is an impossible situation that Judge Robinson has put the quorum court in. You either vote down a budget that's proposed by him that slashes budgets, salaries, slots, and all the things that go with it, or you vote for a budget, you vote down a budget that does all this and it delays employees' payments, or you vote for his budget and employees are going home. Salaries are being cut, and it's totally unnecessary. What I can't understand in my 2 years of being on the quorum court is what government body is not allowed to make an amendment to an ordinance? The quorum court is tasked with their constitutional responsibility of creating a budget for Jefferson County, yet they're not being allowed to amend the budget. Judge Robinson says, vote it up or vote it down. Justice Carroll makes a motion, it's overruled. Anyone else makes a motion, it's overruled. Can we amend this? Can we change this number? We're not gonna do that. You're just gonna vote it up or vote it down. So we vote up your budget, we cut salaries, we lay off employees, or we vote it down and we're delaying employees from getting paid. Now, anybody's out there that's on the city council, anybody's been on the quorum court, anybody's been in the legislature knows you are allowed to make amendments to ordinances and resolutions and budgets. There is never a situation where a legislative member can't make a motion to amend a budget. If you're on a deacon board at a church.
Actually, that's not entirely true. And it's important you know this process. If there is a call to question and it goes before a vote, then you cannot make an amendment. So I don't know if that process was done. This is one of those things you need to know about, Robert's Rules of Order. And I have no idea what happened with the Jefferson County Quorum Court. I haven't looked at it. They're supposed to have a meeting tonight at 5:30. I might go. I'm considering going to that. I'm not sure yet. But it looks like the function of government there has ceased to exist. It's like it's being run by people that just can't get along, have their own little fiefdoms. And this is one of those cities that really needs to have their funding cut. Keep in mind, this city accepted a casino with the understanding that the casino would pay for a lot of things. Well, obviously that's not working. And they recently pushed for a tax increase, which I believe the first time they failed within the past few years. I think the second time it passed. And just like Little Rock, it seems that all they know how to do, pass tax increases, punch through tax increases. And usually what happens is some of the money goes to police and fire, but then a lot of it goes to pet projects. It goes to, a bunch of stupid bike paths, or to get some federal money for bike paths, or green space, or windmills, solar panels. Little Rock just spent $12 million on solar panels. So when their budget busts, they're going to be in this situation pretty soon if they're not already. There's already been some drama within the city of Little Rock. If you look at their some of their meetings, it's the same thing. And what we need to do is rein in these organizations. And the problem is the Republican Party is run by corrupt consultants like Chris Calla, who I've mentioned before. This is a great article by Brian King. It's on Conduit News. It's Conduit for Action. But he talks about the lobbyists. And a lot of tax dollars are going to consultants. More than $600 million that's supposed to go to everything from Medicaid to fixing potholes to getting better equipment for first responders. It's going to consultants. And these consultants are all over the world. London, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. They're global. And you would think that, with Arkansas, with their budget, with, the supposed concern over the schools going broke because of Arkansas Learns, which is a whole nother canard on all kinds of other issues that Democrats would be, let's not spend money on consultants from London. And they promised tremendous savings, but of course it's been the opposite. We saw this with our Medicaid expansion, which was the biggest growth of government in Arkansas history. It turned out to be a massive scandal. And they promised savings and they didn't deliver. Same thing with the lottery commission. The lottery was supposed to be making all this money and take care of the education. It didn't work. Oh, by the way, yeah, in 2008, Governor Beebe, along with Sheffield Nelson, wanted to push for the tax on natural gas. I was actually part of the effort to stop that. It was called Stop the Gas Tax. We kept it from being on the ballot. Unlike Chris Caldwell's fake effort to stop the abortion amendment, we actually were funded and organized to keep that organization from gathering signatures. So we managed to save y'all a lot of money in terms of that issue. Here we go. Cost of Medicaid expansion, 215,000 in new enrollees. And then it exploded, and we all know a lot of the scandals that came from that. Asa Hutchinson's nephew, Jeremy Hutchinson, was one of many people who went to prison over that scam. Yep, there it is right there. Prison over county. We've had these we've had all these consultants, and they're not helping us. But it's even worse than that. The consultants are running the party. I've talked about this before. I'll even play the one video of an example of this because it's needs to be played over and over so people understand. This is Chris Caldwell.
The Ballot County Committee. Yeah. Only members, full members of the state committee can vote. Full members of the state committee have to vote.
Now, this guy who was wearing a staff badge, I don't know if he was even a proxy for in the legislatures, but he was interrupting a point of information which he didn't have a right to do. And should have been called out on it. Should have been told there is still a point of information that needs to be discussed. It should have been called an improper motion, but it wasn't. And we see what happens. He was allowed to get his way.
That's what we're saying. Yes, ma'am. That's what we're saying. There's been a motion to call the vote in a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. Ayes have it.
So with that, they were able to get state legislatures to vote. They violated the will of the people of the state convention. And that's why we have Joseph Wood as chair. And that's why we have Seth May, the guys who botched the Republican 2024 elections, actually lost a vote in the Arkansas House, did nothing in terms of adopt a state to help Trump. Next to nothing. If they did, they did a poor job of advertising it. I heard more from Arkansas 1st District about phone banking to help Donald Trump than from the Republican Party of Arkansas. And they utterly failed. So the real question is going to be in this upcoming legislative session, will the consultants, and that's why I titled this, let Democrats run cities and counties? Now, there's some good efforts to fight the cities and counties. Here's one example. This is a bill, HB 1075, to prohibit local government from regulating the sale or use of lawn care device or imposing a tax or fee on the use of lawn care devices. What's happening is these leftist city and county governments are trying to push this green energy, and part of that is banning gas products. So yes, that would include your lawnmower, the weed eaters, the leaf blowers, gas-powered items. Now, this would mainly affect businesses, but there's nothing to say that they could have a lawn police come by your house and say you need to get rid of your gas-powered lawnmower. And this is sponsored by David Ray, who I disagree with on the issue of FOIA, but on this issue, he's absolutely correct. This is one example of a good bill that needs to be passed in regards to these city and county governments. There needs to be more passed in terms of cutting the funding to any of these county governments or city governments that try to push for this green agenda. But this is actually one example of a good bill that we could get passed in terms of reining in these city and county governments. Here's another issue that I would like to see addressed, and that's the windmills. This was in Carroll County, which is the north part of Arkansas. A windmill farm was built. It's going to be in 9 acres of rural Arkansas. It's going to cost $300 million. And this is a statement for Donald Trump regarding this. I've talked about this in the group that's fighting this garbage. They are Stop Windmill Farms, Boone County, Arkansas, but they're actually in several parts of the state. And so I share this organization as well. But there is a big fight regarding this. And here you can see they're still having meetings over this. They had one on the 30th. Boone County, you can ask your JP to do it. Madison County did. Emergency 1-year moratorium on construction wind turbines. So this is the way they're fighting it. They're fighting it in their county. Is they're trying to put a moratorium on these things. And there's all kinds of ways you can get involved in this. Also, the solar panels, they're another green scam that we need to fight. But anyway, that's really what I was going to talk about, was just the Arkansas legislative session is in place. You can go to this website to look for any bills. You just have to type in. The best way to go is go to bills and then advanced search. And usually that's the best way to find what's going on. It's the 95th Assembly. And you can type on, I just typed in Arkansas as just an example. And it gives most of the bills are going to have Arkansas titled in them. And these are joint resolutions. See, this is a good one right here. I think these are things that can be put on the ballot. This regards FOIA. This is another good bill. This is by Brian King, the same one with the article, the criminal offensive vaccine harm. Again, you can find these bills and share them with others, lobby to get them passed. You do make a difference. It may not seem like it. It may seem like an uphill battle, but you really are making a huge difference when you show up and you fight on these things. But anyway, find me at Just the Right Angle on Rumble. This will also become audio on Podbean. And then YouTube, Keep Arkansas Legal. You can see me on Twitter, KennyW_NLR. Also on MeWe, Gab, and Truth Social. If you have any upcoming important information, feel free to share it with me. This person recently put in. Oh, wait a minute. Anyway, I get updates on what's going on regarding issues, but this was a local thing in Jefferson County that I had kind of missed. I've kept on off and on. I haven't been to Jefferson County Quorum Court, but I may actually go to one tonight. I'll try to see if I can. Yeah, keep up on things like this right here. This shows how the CDC accidentally admitted that masks are totally useless. The CDC, the cloth masks are used for the solar spread of COVID-19, wildfire smoke. So that's the smoke molecule, and that's the coronavirus. So there you go. That's just one example of things you can find when you look up. Conduit News does a lot of excellent jobs on reporting the big national news. Israel and Hamas have reached an agreement. It's probably not going to last. You can see today's schedule regarding a lot of the legislative sessions. You can watch a legislative session. They convene at 1:30. You can. That's that same website where I found the bills. But anyway, find a way to get involved. Remember the Bible verse: "When the wicked rule, the people groan, but we have the power to kick them out." Anyway, you all have a great day.